Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Amizakwan Dekaru Anwar, and we are from Group 2, are going to present Fallacies, a subtopic in philosophy. So, fallacies. There are a few types of fallacies. Firstly, formal fallacies. A formal fallacy arises when the structure or form of an argument is invalid. Even if the premises are true, these fallacies occur in deductive reasoning when the conclusion does not logically follow from the premises. So the first example of formal fallacies, affirming the consequent. So for the affirming of the consequent, if P then Q, therefore P. For a real example, if it rains, the ground will be wet. The ground is wet, therefore it rained. Other causes for the wet ground are ignored. This is another example for formal fallacy. Denying the antecedent. If P, then Q. Not P, therefore not Q. For example, if it rains, the ground will be wet. It did not rain. Therefore, the ground is not wet. This ignores other potential sources of water. Third, non sequitur. It does not follow. Conclusion does not logically follow from the premises. Example, people like apples. Therefore, the government should fund apple farms. This is one of the key research that we found. Tversky and Kahneman in 1974 explored biases in formal reasoning and how people often misinterpret logical relationships. Aristotle's syllogisms, foundational work in understanding valid versus invalid deductive reasoning. I will pass this presentation to Muhammad Khairul Hakimi.
Informal fallacies. So what is informal fallacies? Informal fallacies is arise from errors in the content, context, or language of an argument rather than in structure. This often exploit emotional appeals, ambiguity, or irrelevant details. On to the categories of informal fallacies. There are three categories. One, fallacies of relevance, arguments where premises are relevant to the conclusion. Example, ad hominem, you are wrong because you are unqualified. Rather than their argument. Then we move this one, fallacies of ambiguity, arguments that rely on unclear or shifting meanings. Example, equivocation. A feather is light, but its light cannot be dark. Therefore, a feather cannot be dark. Then the third one is fallacies of presumption, arguments that assume something without justification. Example, begging the question. Stealing is wrong because it is immoral to take things that don't belong to you. So we move on to the example of informal fallacies. First one, straw man, misrepresenting an argument to attack it. You want a stricter environment laws, you must want to shut down all industries. Then we go to one action will lead to extreme outcomes. If we allow students to redo assignments soon, they won't do them all. And then last one is appeal to emotion, using emotions instead of logic. Example is think of the children. Then we move on to the key research. So Walton, 1995, studied informal fallacies in argumentation, theory, emphasizing their use in persuasion and dialogue. And then Greece's cooperative Principle, 1975, explains how informal fallacies often violate conversational maxim. I'll pass next slide to Muhammad Shakir.
So for the comparison, for the first one is formal fallacies. Definition for the formal fallacies is structural errors in deductive reasoning. While for the informal fallacies, definition is error in content, context, or language. So for the focus for formal fallacies is more to logical form. So for the informal fallacies, focus is relevance, clarity, or assumption. As example from the formal fallacies, affirming the consequent, denying the antecedent, non sequitur. So for the informal, example is ad hominem, strawman, slippery slope, appeal to emotion. So for the detection for the formal fallacies, require logical analysis. While for the informal fallacies, detections is require understanding, context, and evaluating content. So for formal fallacies, common context, mathematics, formal logics, and programming. So for the last one, common context for informal fallacies, everyday conversation, media, political debates. So for the conclusion from our presentation is for the fallacies, formal fallacies is error in logical structure, as example, affirming the consequent. So for informal fallacies, errors in content or context, such as ad hominem, strawman, and otherwise. It's help improve reasoning and critical thinking, under more academic research, legal analysis, media literacy, and effective communication. The last one is aids in recognizing manipulative arguments in media, politics, and everyday discourse. So this all from us. Thank you.